I'm Joy Johnson Lind, Senior Director of Child and Family Services. One of the things I remember most about my childhood is I grew up across the street from the golf course. So really, most of my earliest memories really are being on the golf course with my parents.
Welcome to Childhood Chatcast with the Dude. I'm the Dude, and as usual, I'm joined by Jake. Hey, Jake.
Hey, dude.
And we're going to take a deep dive into the kid experts here at Children's Minnesota's Childhoods to find out what makes us all the same. Because, hey, we were all kids once. And as a twist, I am going to try to guess their birthday.
Their birthdays?
Their exact birthday, the date and year. So join us in the time machine I built out of cardboard boxes and duct tape, and let's meet our guest.
Hey, dude.
Hey, Jake.
Growing up, did you ever used to travel around with your music?
Oh, yeah. You know, nowadays, of course, people can do it whenever they want on their phone or whatever, of course. But I used to have the Walkman, the Talkman, CD player, MP3, and then MP4, and then the mini iPod, and then the big iPods. I would take my music everywhere I went. And it is actually quite funny that you mentioned that, because our guest today actually had a record player that would fold up like a suitcase, and she would take her music on the go.
Did you learn then to play golf? Because, you were adjacent from the golf course.
Yeah, by proxy. We were kind of drug along early on in the back of I can really remember this, like on the back of my mom's pull cart, kind of going out there like family day. So yeah, I was out there a lot and naturally wanted to learn to golf because my parents did. So it was kind of, if you wanted to see them and do stuff like that. And I had an older sister too, who she did. So it was kind of expected, I guess.
Yeah.
I was a caddy. For a long time. Worked at a golf course for years and years and years.
Really?
And so the idea of living near a golf course, we had a member who lived just off the golf course. So they're thinking of them just being able just to slip right outside and be able to putt right there.
Yeah.
Awesome. I always had that dream of having that as well.
Yeah. So I grew up in Little Falls Community Golf Course. So although we lived across this, there wasn't a lot of membership happening, but certainly we walked over across the street all the time and would play kind of these 3 holes that would loop around to our house. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is funny because my uncle was Pebble Lake Golf Course up in Fergus Falls. He was the head's groundskeeper. That was his job, his career.
Really?
Yeah, and the assistant basketball coach at the community college.
Look at all these links.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
So every summer, whenever we went up there, it was always a day at the course with Uncle Rick and driving around in his cool big cart, turning on the things, the water things at the end.
Yeah.
And my brother and I were pretty young. He let us just do whatever we wanted with golf carts and stuff. And we were in one, and we started chasing this chipmunk, and he took a hard right into a tree. And we crashed it, and we just were devastated. But my uncle was laughing the whole time, just like
he covered for you.
We're going to start at the very beginning because it's a very good place to start.
Yeah.
We're going to go to, are you able to recall your first memory as a little kid?
I do remember my parents moved from Duluth to Little Falls. And so Dad went for his job. And so they were building a home in Little Falls. And I must have been about 3. And so prior to that, we lived in Royalton, which is a suburb of Little Falls, about 9 miles outside of town. And we lived just in an apartment there while they were building the house. And they building the house included my grandpa, my mom's dad, and my dad, who had not a lot of experience. My grandpa was a home builder, so he was really taking lead on that. But I do remember living in that apartment. I have memories with my older sister, who's 2 years older. And I remember because the people who ran the apartment or whatever, maintenance and took care of it, they had a big dog, Barney. And I'll remember it to this day. And I do think it's why I have such a love of dogs. But Barney lived in this apartment building. He was a huge, kind of what my son would call now is a mix-up. So kind of a lot of different things, but looked kind of like a yellow lab. But that's my earliest remember. And I think it's because I've seen some pictures of that. It really brings me to that. In that picture, I wonder if it makes me think more of the memory. But that's my first memory I can think of.
Great.
I must have been
photos.
3.
Yeah, photos can do that.
Yeah.
If you go back and you look at when you were really, really little, crazy how it triggers like, oh my gosh, I remember those shoes. Or I remember having to get dressed up for that picture. That's right.
Yeah.
So you say you have an older sister and that's it for siblings?
I have one older sister, 2 years older, and then a younger sister who's 11 years younger than me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So a gap there.
Yeah.
So you were pretty close to your older sister?
Close to both of them in different ways, to tell you the truth. I mean, really close to my older sister because we were pretty much attached at the hip. Mostly we golfed together a lot. So we were always together, but we just were super close. We still are. And I think my younger sister, you know, we kind of took care of her those first years. My parents both worked and we had this 2-month-old baby and they were like, here you go.
Right.
So I tell my husband too, I go, I think that's why we waited so long to have kids too. And I love my sister and you kind of know how much work it is, right? Like taking care. So super close to her, to kind of more of a, always treating her like my baby sister, you know, and like going to even out with her now, I'm like grabbing her hand and she's like, I got it. So we have a really good relationship now. Yeah. Close with both. We have a pretty small family. So yeah, I'm still close to both my sisters and my parents are still living. So with them too.
And so you got along growing up, let's say before baby sister comes along, your 2-year older sister. Was there a competition and rivalry going on? Or was it just that you guys kind of were designed to be like just BFFs?
Yeah.
You know?
I really look back on that and I can't remember fighting with her. Like she probably looks back on it differently. Like I was always with her or wanting to be with her, but maybe she felt more annoyed by that. And even golf, like we were super competitive, like both really good golf back in the day, high school wise and college. We both played golf at college and played on the same team. I remember being competitive, but it was different. It felt really safe around her. It still does. And we have a lot of the same interests and such. But so not competitive, but really good friends.
What were some toys that you grew up with?
Well, a lot of board games. Speaking of competitiveness, I mean, a lot of board games that like literally ended in tears in my family. Like we were hardcore. Mostly, I mean, still to this day, there could be some heated discussions, but we played a lot of board games, a lot of cards, like playing cards, which I still think we do today. And we were outside a lot. We didn't have any gaming kind of stuff growing up, even back in the day, nothing like video games in a sense. So
Atari or whatever that was.
You know, we just were outside. Like,
you were the video games.
Yeah, we were. My sister,
sure.
I think it's because we, from so early on, were outside and like sun up till sundown, we were on the golf course and we either worked there, you're picking the range or you're doing something. So I think that, I think we were just out. It was just.
Don't you feel lucky to have grown up then?
I do.
Yeah. I think a lot of people that grew up in the 70s and even the 80s will tell you that we drank from garden hoses. We got up and certainly in the summer. All we did was spend all day outside. If we came inside, it was to get something to eat or whatever.
Couldn't go outside and make noise until 9:00 in the morning because you don't want to rile the neighbors too much. And then it was pretty much as soon as the lights came on outside, it was time to go home.
For sure. And I grew up in a smaller town. Little Falls is 7,500 people.
Same here. I grew up in Montemita. So
for sure. Yeah, it's smaller, but
Me too. Small town. Yeah. I grew up in Iowa. Yeah.
Look at the connections.
Another connection. But I can remember the next door neighbors to us, like our deck looked into their yard, the Foxes. So Mr. Fox, at like dinner time, he had this like plastic big red horn. And I can remember it would almost sound like the Vikings, like the horn, right?
Horn.
So he would blow that. And it's like everyone in the neighborhood knew it was time to go home. It's really funny when you think of it, but we were out. And we all laugh about that time. Like we all have such fond memories of that. That's how it was. We just were outside. Oh
my gosh. Okay. So what about, let's jump a few more years ahead when you start school. Do you remember how you felt when school started? And were you a nervous kid, a shy kid, or
little separation anxiety? If I have to look back and analyze my own self.
Did you go to the same school as your older sister?
I did.
So there was some comfort there.
Yeah, I did. But she kind of was pretty confident in her group, right? So I mean, early on, I don't remember a lot of interaction with her. More like middle school and high school, there was more social kind of interaction.
Yeah.
But I really was difficult. I would say I had some separation leaving home. I think it was just going. But those were days too. Kindergarten was like a few hours a day. Like it's so different than it is now.
Yeah.
But I very clearly remember my kindergarten teacher, Miss Hack. And I have I have a lot of like smaller town too. Like I just had my 30th class year reunion. And when I think of that and then I think back to kindergarten, like a lot of those, I've known them since I was 5. Like it's crazy that you're still in touch with these people.
Yeah. That is wild. And what kind of student were you?
I don't remember having challenges. I think with school, I worked really hard. So it didn't come easily to me. So I feel like I had to work really hard, probably harder than other students to do stuff that maybe they didn't have to work as hard doing. But reading was always a big love of mine. Like, we had a really nice library in Little Falls. It's our Carnegie Library. So it was this cool house. So I can remember just being downstairs in beanbags reading and like then riding our bike home.
We had the same childhood in that regard. The library.
This is frighteningly close.
This is weird. And if anybody could see the glasses that we're wearing too,
I know.
This is wild.
Yeah. We had the same. Yeah.
Same. I was a latchkey kid, so I had from 3:30 to 5 pretty much growing up. We only lived a couple blocks from the school, but a couple blocks from the school the other way was the library. And so I would split my time between shooting hoops and going to the library. Yeah. And I remember reading Bananas magazine. It was like Mad magazine for kids.
Okay.
Yes. Do you remember?
This is where we're separating out our interest in.
Okay. But I just started, that's what triggered like, I really like funny things and stuff like that. And I was such an avid reader. They had a top shelf in the basement of the library with the kids and the beanbags.
Yep.
There was a whole row of autobiographies that were, grade school level reading, but everybody from Babe Diedrichson, who was a big athlete back in the 20s, 30s, I think, or Teddy Roosevelt, and it was all alphabetical. And I said, I'm going to read all of those this year. And I did.
Was there any book series that you got into?
Oh, yeah.
We fell in love with books about horses. And so read all of the Black Stallion books. Like that was like over and over again. I just remember rereading that series of Black Stallion books. And then they would kind of have one-offs like the Black Stallion's son. Then there would be books about the son and that journey. Right. So we read a ton of those books. I would say, I remember reading like Nancy Drew books. Sure. Because my mom did when she was a kid. We did.
The Boxcar Children?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Sure. Yes. Yep. So we read, but it was really, when you think about a series, it was really those Walter Farley, the Black Stallion books. To this day, I still have fond memories.
We're in later grade school years now, and maybe becoming exposed more to like sports and certainly the culture and
music is starting to ramp up.
So records, I'm assuming. Yeah. Do you remember your first record, or do you remember your first record player?
For sure. I remember my first record player was like, it looked like a mini suitcase. Yeah. Right? So I could pack it up, and bring it and have like the little records that would play on it.
The 45.
The 45. So I can remember, for sure having that, but really bringing that record player, that needle must have been so destroyed. I can remember bringing it like when we went on trips and stuff. I brought the record player. It came up like a suitcase. It was blue.
It almost, it was almost briefcase-like because it had a little slots for your records and everything like that.
It had a handle, and so it closed up and latched up. So music, that changed through the years. My very first concert, Michael Jackson.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Live? Wow.
Yep. And so that was fun. And my parents really liked music, so they brought us to kind of some bizarre, like, I think people might judge me for this, but one of my other very first concerts, Barry Manilow, who I still holds a very special part in my heart, that I've seen him live a few times and so awesome. But like, I remember going with them to see do you remember the Pointer Sisters? Went to the Pointer Sisters. And so kind of a vast array of music. But I loved Michael Jackson early on. And then middle school was like obsessed with U2 and kind of went through that whole, I still really love U2, but music was big.
Were you a TV family? I was a TV family. We actually ate in front of the TV because I think by the time my mom got home and then cooked, she was like,
I'm done with you kids. Yeah.
Let's just turn on the TV and watch our shows. Well, she wasn't done with us, Joy. I mean, she still was. She was like, but we had TV trays. And
we did.
So was that?
We didn't have dinner in front of the TV at all, but we did watch TV after that. I can remember having, like, you speak of the TV trays, but having like TV dinners, like that was like a treat. I think back, they really tricked us into thinking that was a treat. Like we had them once in a while.
It was all for the.
You mean the Frozen Swanson ones?
Yeah, exactly.
It was all, it was all for the mushy brownie.
Yeah, the compartments of food, like trays.
Yeah, and the mystery sirloin meat.
So, we did not eat in front of the TV, but as we got older, we were busy with sports. So there's always something after school. Sports.
What kind of sport? What were the sports you played?
Basketball. I love basketball, and then golf, of course. Those took up a lot. Like high school wise, like intramural stuff, like volleyball, and I was in band, so just stuff, right? Like
busy.
Stuff.
Me too. Same.
Yeah.
Do you remember the biggest movie going experiences? Because I think people nowadays, we've obviously with all the streaming things, that was real magic when you went to a movie theater and were surrounded by a ton of people watching the same thing. Yeah. And do you remember some of those early ones?
I mean, I remember we really loved like the Indiana Jones movies. Like I can remember as a family going to those together because we all could go and really enjoy it. So we did a lot of movies. We had a theater in Little Falls. They had a drive-in not far outside of where we lived. And so that was always cool too, going to the drive-in and seeing movies there. But I remember in Star Wars, like early Star Wars. But yeah, the Indiana Jones ones really kind of stand out as things we did.
That's funny. I do want to jump in because drive-in also.
Yeah.
And because it was Iowa, everybody had a truck or their parents had a truck. And so we would throw in lazy boys or love seats and stuff like that. And we'd sit in the back bed of the truck in comfy chairs outside.
Yeah.
Heck yes.
Just chugging on Mountain Dew.
We had like a Volkswagen Rabbit. So it was like this compact little car.
Oh, the Rabbit.
So we took that car to California on a family road trip. It was, that's what we went to the drive-in. So it wasn't quite that being a lazy boy in the back, but it was still fun.
That's a long trip. In
the Rabbit. That's
wow.
And not only that, it was a diesel. So we're just bringing all the layers out here. Yeah. It was a long trip.
An even longer trip.
Well, was your family a family adventure kind of family and going on yearly trips and stuff?
Our trips were pretty local. The first time I went on an airplane, I was in 4th grade. We didn't take a lot of plane trips. It was big. Like that was a big deal. My mom had a sister out in California. My dad did too. So that was a few times early on. I can remember that, but we did a lot of road trips. And then we did a lot of in-state. My parents are from Duluth, so that was a lot of where we went to. And then as we got older, that kind of started expanding just based on our interests. In high school, for sure, we traveled. It was just easier to travel then too, when we were more independent on that. But we did a lot of road trips. Very unlike now when I think of trips and senior trips and all these, it's just so different in terms of getting on a plane. But it was mostly road trips for me.
Now we're kind of in junior high age, and now you're having like team sports, Little Falls
Flyers. Charles Lindbergh is from Little Falls.
Oh,
hence the Flyers.
Okay, there we go. So what was the actual mascot? Was it a plane?
No, it was like I don't even remember the mascot. It was like a bird, right? It was a bird.
Sure.
Yeah, it was a bird. I think it was a bird. I don't really know that.
Bird.
Yeah, it was kind of a
would have been
purple.
Better if
we were purple and white.
It would have been better if it was just like a piece of paper. Just here's a flyer.
Like here, this is my band's playing on Saturday night. I hope you can make it.
That's our mascot.
Hey, bingo's tomorrow too. When you get to high school, was starting over high school intimidating at all? You had your ride or dies. You had your best friends. You kind of,
I think
you had sports.
And that felt pretty secure to me. And Little Falls, most of the kids you were in middle school with were in high school. There were maybe a few, like our parochial schools. I can't even remember if they went into middle school. So most of the kids you kind of knew already because you already were with them. So I think that felt fairly unintimidating, starting high school.
You remember your GPA? Were you 3 point something?
I was a 3 point something. There was a lot of pressure about doing well in school. So
from mom and dad?
Probably everything, probably myself, but it was kind of just expected, you would. So, and two, I was thinking about what I was going to do after high school. They always are like, if you could tell yourself something now, back then, and I would have been like, stop stressing out about these little things, when you think about, I wish someone would have told me that. Maybe they did and I didn't listen, but I think I was a big worrier. I still am a worrier. I loved, if there's something to worry about, I'm like, give it to me. I'll worry about it for you. So I think I worried, but I really knew I wanted, to go to college, and that was always a focus. Did you have a path for yourself, kind of? Was there something that you were drawn to? Well, I think probably not so much my 9th and 10th grade. But as I started, I really had hope to play golf in college. Like that was a goal of mine, and wondered if I could have a scholarship or if something could help with college. And so that was really what my focus was as I got into those later parts of high school, just more focused on where I wanted to go and did I want to golf. And so that was a bit of my motivation. Yeah. To do that after high school. So college, and where did you end up? I went to college at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. Okay. Go Badgers. Yeah. And I did play golf there, so it was fun. Oh, wow. It was great. And your sister did? Yeah, my sister did too. Cool. So it was a great experience. I look back and I love Madison. I love the Badgers. That was a really fun time. Yeah. Thank God no social media then. Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, not that there'd be anything on there that I wouldn't want to see right now, but thank God. I think just going back and looking at my different hairstyles throughout the years, I mean, I shaved this area above my ears. Interesting. And then above it, the hair above it was long, so I could gel it back. And it looked like really aerodynamic. No, it looked like dove's wings tucked in, and then a mullet. And spiky up top, and it was, my mom still is horrified by that. It's hard for me to imagine that. You seeing them, I cannot. My mouth is just dropped right now, just thinking of the flock of seagulls. Oh, maybe you should bring some photos in. I'm glad you grew it. That could be the next thing we do. I think I had them destroyed. I'm glad you grew your hair all the way out, though. Yeah. Big, luscious, flowing locks. Luscious. Do you know what? I think I have enough information to take a stab here. All right. Oh, gosh. First and foremost, Joy, thank you so much for your time today here on the Childhood Chatcast. I'm feeling a little nervous right now. Dude. But it is time. It is time that the dude, you'll be guessing Joy's birthday, day, month, and year. Things to think about. Mm-hmm. Black Stallion books. Yep.
Michael Jackson concert.
Record player suitcase.
Record player suitcase.
All right, so I just want to point something out. That the last one we did was from our chaplaincy, Abby Davis.
Yeah.
I was one day off.
I haven't talked anything about my birthday, though. Like, nothing
The
that
first-
would have said anything to you.
That's why I go by
Yeah.
instinct.
Yeah.
And, well, okay, so I'm a mid-December. So a lot of the times when it's, hey, in 1980, whatever, it's like I didn't turn that age until almost the year was
Later.
over.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be true with you because, okay, so I think your birthday is at the end of the year, probably in, again, I just chose tax day for Abby and I said the 15th, but it was the 14th. So I think it's a holiday and I think it's near a holiday like mine. Could be late November for Thanksgiving, but I'm going to favor New Year's and Christmas and everything else that happens around that. I don't think it's on Christmas, but I think it's close. So I'll say December 27th, 1975.
You're close. December
Okay.
20th,
Oh, a week off.
1973. Sorry about that.
That was
I'll
awesome.
take it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty close.
It
right?
is. It's
Close
awesome.
enough.
I don't know how you picked out December because I didn't give you any inkling about
Because people
Christmas
who
holidays.
forget their birthday, like how old am I? I think sometimes have their birthdays at the
No,
end of the year.
it's just that I'm getting old.
Okay, all right,
It's
fair
just
enough.
that.
All right, fair enough.
That's
But
why
I
I
was a
am
week
49, and I'm like, am I 48? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I am 49.
Oh,
I'm going to be
okay.
50.
I thought you were 47.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I must look 47. Yeah.
Well, this was a blast. It's
Fun. Thank
good
you,
to get to
guys.
know you. And, one of the reasons we do this is in, a world where we seem to highlight differences, going back to our childhoods certainly brings us back to how we are so much alike and we
Yeah.
had so much the same
Yeah.
experiences. So this is very cool. Thanks for your
You
time.
guys are great. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Childhood Chatcast brought to you by Buzzsprout. To get new and previous episodes of Childhood Chatcast, head over to starstudiomn.org.